From UFO were bending notes into melodic fire, to a space rock band that launched Lemmy into orbit, to a British crew that invented the rock opera before The Who even got started. These are the 70s rock bands you forgot existed, but deserved more love. They had the riffs, the looks, the cult followings. But bad timing, label chaos, and the sheer size of the rock scene left them buried under louder headlines. And one of them? They were signed to Led Zeppelin's own label, and still disappeared. Let's bring these legends back into the light, because trust me, once you hear them, you'll wonder how the hell they slipped through the cracks. Number 1. UFO. If there was any justice in the rock world, UFO would be a household name. Sure, real heads know them, but the general public still sleeping. And that's insane, because between 1974's Phenomenon and 1978's Obsession, UFO dropped some of the tightest, hardest-hitting, most melodic hard rock of the entire decade. Michael Schenker's guitar work alone is enough to earn legendary status. His solos were fluid, emotional, and fast without ever losing the groove. Dr. Doctor and Lights Out are absolute bangers, and Love to Love is a mini rock opera. They were massive in Europe and Japan, selling out arenas and influencing every melodic metal band that followed. But in the US, they got buried by radio politics and poor management. Ask Metallica, Iron Maiden, or Slash who they studied. They'll say UFO without missing a beat. And while UFO were bending notes into melodic fire, the next band was warping time itself, mixing prog, psych, and blues into one of the most mind-expanding records of the decade. Number 2, Captain Beyond. One word, cosmic. Captain Beyond weren't just another rock band. They were a time-warping, genre-defying, full-blown sonic expedition. Built from the ashes of Deep Purple and Iron Butterfly, they released their self-titled debut in 1972 and then vanished into cult status. But that one record, untouchable. It's got fluid time signature shifts, psychedelic textures, and hard rock power, all tied together by Rod Evans. Yes, that Rod Evans from early Deep Purple, commanding voice. Dancing madly backwards is a roller coaster. Raging River of Fear is prog meets biker rock. And Frozen Over might be one of the most underrated riffs of the decade. So why didn't they explode? Bad timing. No radio hit. But every serious prog fan or stoner rock lover eventually finds their way to Captain Beyond. And when they do, they stay. And while Captain Beyond was out in deep space, the next band was building rock operas right here on Earth, before The Who made it cool. Number 3, Pretty Things. They were loud before the Stones, trippy before Pink Floyd, operatic before The Who. And yet, the Pretty Things remain one of the most criminally overlooked bands of the 70s. Starting in the 60s as a gritty R&B band, the Pretty Things evolved fast. And by 1968, they dropped SF Sorrow, widely considered the first rock opera ever recorded. That's right. A full year before Tommy. It's dark, poetic, and deeply psychedelic. A concept album loaded with melodic hooks, experimental textures, and raw emotional storytelling. But they were too weird for mainstream radio and too ahead of the curve for commercial success. Add in lineup changes and poor promotion, and the Pretty Things got left behind while the world caught up to their ideas. Still, ask David Gilmour, Steven Wilson, or any British rocker worth their salt. The Pretty Things were the blueprint for prog, glam, and even punk.
I'm telling you again.
And while the Pretty Things were spinning concept albums, the next band was launching space rock missions and launching Lemmy into the stratosphere in the process. But if you do not subscribe to the channel now, I will launch you into the stratosphere. Number 4. Hawkwind. If Pink Floyd went full throttle and dosed their amps with acid, you'd get Hawkwind. Formed in 1969, these British psych warriors created a soundtrack for intergalactic rebellion.
Rock, strangeness and charm. Rock, strangeness and charm.
With pulsing bass lines, swirling synths, and sci-fi lyrics, songs like Silver Machine and Master of the Universe felt like the cosmos itself was melting. They didn't just perform, they transported. Strobes, projections, dancers, and chaos ruled their live shows. And let's not forget, this was Lemmy's first real band. Yep, before Motorhead, he was playing bass for Hawkwind and singing lead on their biggest single. They were cult legends in the UK, but in the US, they stayed mostly underground. Probably too trippy, too British, too everything. But now, they're recognized as pioneers, influencing everyone from Monster Magnet to Queens of the Stone Age. And while Hawkwind were mapping out space rock, the next band was down in the dirt, loud, chaotic, and laying the groundwork for punk years before it exploded. Number 5. Pink Fairies. You want anarchic, amp-blasting, middle-finger rock before punk hit the scene? Say hello to the Pink Fairies. Emerging from the same underground London scene as Hawkwind, the Pink Fairies were raucous, irreverent, and loud as hell. Their 1971 debut Never Never Land is a fuzz-drenched riot, full of feedback, grooves, and tongue-in-cheek fury. Songs like Do It and The Snake weren't just catchy. They were anti-authority anthems, screaming for freedom while cranking the volume to dangerous levels. They didn't care about polish or airplay. They cared about vibes, volume, and blowing minds in sweaty clubs. They weren't punk. They weren't prog. They weren't metal. They were everything, all at once. And that's exactly why they influenced all three. Today you can trace their DNA in bands like The Damned, The Stooges, and early Motorhead. And while their legacy never topped charts, it's still vibrating through rock's grimiest corners. And if the Fairies were the Chaos Kings, the next band were the hidden pop rock gods, loaded with hooks, glam vibes, and everything needed to headline arenas. Except the luck. Number 6. Stars. Stars had the riffs, they had the image, they had the songs. So why didn't they blow up? That's the million-dollar mystery. Hailing from New Jersey and signed to Capitol, Stars came on strong in the mid-70s with a sound that was part glam rock, part power pop, and part hard rock punch. Their 1976 debut and 1977's Violation are full of arena-sized hooks. Cherry Baby should have been a massive hit, and Coliseum Rock sounds like it was written for stadiums. They toured with Kiss, Aerosmith, and Ted Nugent. Critics loved them. Fans screamed for them. But somehow the mainstream never gave them the same love. Maybe they were too pop for the metalheads, too heavy for the pop crowd, classic in-between syndrome. Today, they're a cult favorite, with bands like Twisted Sister, Poison, and even Motley Crue citing them as major influences. And while stars were shining bright just outside the spotlight, number 7, Trapeze.
Get up to the rhythm, stop by clapping your hands.
Before he was recruited by Deep Purple, Glenn Hughes was already proving he was a rock and roll force of nature in a band called Trapeze. This British power trio blended funk, blues, and hard rock in a way that felt both smooth and savage. Their 1970 album, Medusa, is an underground classic, and Hughes' vocals damn near untouchable. Songs like Black Cloud and Your Love Is All Right mix soulful groove with crunching riffs, creating a sound that was years ahead of its time. It's like Cream went on a bender with Sly Stone and came back tighter. Trapeze earned a loyal following in the southern US, where fans treated them like Zeppelin's cousins. But elsewhere, they stayed niche. Hughes left for Purple. The band kept going, but they never recaptured that original spark. Still, their influence is baked into the DNA of funk metal, soul rock, and bands that dare to groove while they shred. And while Trapeze was smooth with an edge, the next band was the exact opposite. Flashy, dramatic, and dressed in all white like glam rock angels that never made it to heaven. Number 8, Angel. Imagine if Kiss, dressed in white, played progressive glam rock and descended from glowing smoke machines instead of hellfire. You just pictured Angel. Signed to Casablanca Records. Yep, same as Kiss. Angel had a look that screamed and a sound that mixed hard rock pomp and sci-fi keyboard theatrics. Their stage show, pure spectacle. Their self-titled debut and albums like Hell of a Band and On Earth as It Is in Heaven were loaded with ambition. Songs like The Tower and Can You Feel It had hooks, power, and plenty of theatrical flair. So why didn't they blow up? The image was there. The label was behind them. But they got lost in the disco era, radio couldn't figure them out, and fans never fully latched on. Still, Angel developed a cult following. And now their early albums are considered hidden glam prog gems by diehards and retro rockers alike. And while Angel were floating in glam heaven, the next band stayed grounded, playing barroom anthems built for stadiums but buried under bigger names. Number 9. Legs, Diamond. If Survivor and UFO had a baby raised on whiskey and radio rock, it'd sound a lot like Legs, Diamond. This California band had all the tools: melodic riffs, A-plus songwriting, and a lead singer, Rick Sanford, with a voice like a damn chainsaw in a tux. Their 1977 debut is pure hard rock gold, with standouts like Stage Fright, Rat Race, and The Massive Woman. Their 1979 album, A Diamond is a Hard Rock, is where they really shine. Polished, but still gritty. Tight, but full of soul. The songs scream arena rock, but for whatever reason, they never broke through. Maybe bad timing, maybe bad promotion, but definitely not bad music. Legs Diamond toured with the big boys and gained serious respect in Texas and the Midwest. But nationally, they stayed under the radar. Now they're revered by collectors and AOR album-oriented rock junkies, and one listen will tell you why. And while Legs Diamond sparkled in the shadows, the next band came blazing out of Canada with raw emotion, melodic bite, and enough heart to melt arena walls. Number 10. Tease Canada gave us Rush, Triumph, and Tease, the band that should have been right there with them. These guys mixed hard rock grit with melodic polish, and while they had the sound for stadiums, they spent their prime stuck in label limbo. Their 1979 record One Night Stands is criminally underrated. A perfect mix of power ballads, rock anthems, and blue-collar heart. Sweet Misery is one of those slow-burn heartbreakers that could have been a hit on any rock radio station. Meanwhile, Boys Night Out brings the swagger and hooks you'd expect from any band gunning for the big leagues. Tease played with fire, and frontman Brian Danter had the pipes to take it all the way. But delays, lineup shifts, and lack of U.S. exposure held them back. Eventually, they faded out before hitting their peak. Now, vinyl collectors and AOR fans sing their praises loud, and new listeners are finally catching on. And while Tease poured their soul into melodic anthems, the next band was busy crafting an album so good, you'll wonder how the whole damn world missed it. Number 11, Roadmaster.
To be alone without you,
Ever hear a band and think, how was this not on every rock radio station? That's Roadmaster. Based out of Indiana, Roadmaster released Hey World in 1978.
The doctors could not believe their eyes and ears.
And it should have been their ticket to the big leagues. Blazing guitars, smooth vocals, and tight songwriting made it a standout in a crowded rock scene. Songs like Hey World and My Eyes Have Been Opened have that perfect blend of muscle and melody. Like Boston meets Journey with a bit of Styx flair thrown in. They even opened for top-tier acts like Cheap Trick and Heart, but somehow never scored the hit they needed. Roadmaster had the chops. They had the songs. What they didn't have was the promotional push. Bad label support and timing left them buried.
Kept waiting on to come around.
But their catalog holds up shockingly well. Give Hey World one spin, and you'll be shouting their name like you just uncovered buried treasure. And while Roadmaster were preaching to the rock faithful, the next band were quietly blending prog ambition with pop smarts and accidentally crafting one of the catchiest deep cuts of the decade. Number 12, City Boy. Don't let the name fool you. City Boy were anything but soft. These UK rockers packed prog brains into power pop hooks, fusing Queen-like harmonies with sharp musicianship and clever satirical lyrics. Their biggest moment came with the 1978 hit 5.70.5, but the rest of their discography proves they were way more than a one-hit wonder. Albums like Dinner at the Ritz and Book Early are full of surprises, time signature changes, dual vocals, and guitar work that somehow fits both jazz clubs and arenas. City Boy were always caught in between. Too quirky for rock radio, too catchy for full-blown prog purists, but their ambition never wavered. And with Mutt Lange, yes, that Mutt Lange, producing some of their best work, their sound was always tight, smart, and stadium-worthy. They faded before the 80s hit, but left behind a body of work that deserves a serious re-listen. And while City Boy crafted clever pop-rock masterpieces, the next band had Zeppelin's literal seal of approval, and still never made it past the underground. Number 13, Detective. What happens when a band signs to Led Zeppelin's swan song label tours with major acts and still doesn't break through. You get Detective, the ultimate case of almost famous. Fronted by the swaggering Michael Desbars and backed by ex-members of Silverhead and Yes, Detective had all the goods. Gritty blues rock riffs, glam attitude, and a sneering edge that gave them real bite. Their 1977 self-titled debut is pure underground gold. Tracks like Recognition and Got Enough Love feel like Zeppelin B-sides, and that's not a knock. It's a huge compliment. They had the swagger, the chops, and a killer sound that split the difference between hard rock and sleaze glam. But even with Zepp's backing, they couldn't catch a break. Promotion fizzled. Radio didn't bite. And by the time their second album, It Takes One to Know One, dropped, momentum was already gone. Today, they're a cult favorite for collectors and glam rock revivalists alike. And while Detective kept it gritty, the next band added violins to their hard rock attack and somehow made it work so well, they became Midwest legends. Number 14, Shooting Star. Violins in a hard rock band. Sounds risky. But for Shooting Star, it became their secret weapon. Formed in Kansas City, these guys blended melodic AOR with symphonic touches, and their 1980 self-titled debut is a lost classic. Last Chance, their biggest track, is cinematic, soaring, and absolutely built for stadium sing-alongs. They toured with Journey, ZZ Top, and REO Speedwagon, and they had everything radio loved: hooks, harmonies, guitar solos, and emotional pull. But somehow, they never quite made the leap to arena headliner. Why? Timing, mostly. They hit during a flood of corporate rock, and labels didn't know how to market a band with a violinist and prog rock ambition. Still, they developed a loyal Midwest following that never forgot them. And over time, Shooting Star's early records became essential listening for AOR collectors and rock radio deep divers. And if you thought that was an early glimpse of future stardom, wait till you meet the band that featured a young Billy Squier years before he ruled MTV. Number 15, Piper. Before The Stroke and Lonely Is the Night made him a rock star, Billy Squier was just a hungry young frontman in a band called Piper. Formed in the mid-70s, Piper had all the raw ingredients of a breakout act: tight musicianship, radio-friendly hooks, and one of the best up-and-coming vocalists in the game. Their 1977 debut and follow-up Can't Wait are full of solid, melodic hard rock. Songs like Out of Control and Can't Wait showcase Squier's signature songwriting style before it hit the big leagues. Confident, catchy, and slightly dangerous. Critics took notice. Rolling Stone even called Piper the most promising new rock band of 1977. But despite label backing and a solid push, the band never hit. Maybe the market was too crowded. Maybe they were just a step behind the wave, but the music still rocks. And Piper became the stepping stone that launched Squier into solo stardom. These were the 70s rock bands you forgot existed but deserved more love. Underrated legends, cult favorites, and deep cuts that deserve to be turned way up. Which one was new to you? Drop your favorite in the comments.
Can you hear me? I'm telling you again.
Hit subscribe. Share this with a fellow vinyl junkie or classic rock fan, and if this list scratched your hidden gem itch,
Get up to the rhythm. Stop by coming to him.
Winter is here and it's cold.
From your love, just a spirit.
click the video on screen now for 15 obscure rock bands from the 80s you need to hear. It's stacked with more killer acts you never knew you loved.